This is a complete guide to master shooting and start banging in goals. I'm breaking down every technique you can think of. From the power shot, curling the ball, volleys, even rabonas, all the way down to the penalty kick. In this video, you will learn how to master your weak foot in 30 days, deceive any goalkeeper you face, and by the end, I'll give you a 30-day training plan to take your shooting from this to this. Going from inside the box to the halfway line. I'm breaking down everything in between, starting with, many people dream of scoring the match-winning penalty kick, then when they get the chance, it ends up looking like this. So let's change that. Look, penalty kicks are not complicated, but people crack under pressure. Penalty kicks is all about mindset and routine. If you look at all the best footballers in the world, they have a routine that they stick to for almost every single penalty kick. And when they try a new routine, they end up missing. If you look at Bruno Fernandes, his penalty kicks are consistently the same routine. When you stick to the same routine, it helps you build confidence. And when you step up to a penalty spot, you know you're gonna bury it because you've been doing the same routine consistently over a set period of time. Just like this. For me, it's 3 steps back, 3 steps to the side, and then put my hands on my hips, even down to the minuscule details. Take a deep breath, and then I go, finish it. Penalty kicks are all about confidence, and this is why routines are so important. The more consistently you do routine, aim in the exact same spot, take the exact same number of steps back, to the side, whatever it may be, the more confident you're gonna be in your ability. And again, if you look at the best footballers in the world, they all have consistently the same routine in almost every single penalty kick they take, especially the best penalty kick takers. Harry Kane, Bruno Fernandes, Cristiano Ronaldo, the list goes on. This is a technique I practice throughout the years. Especially with the higher level up you get, penalty kicks are not always about power. Yes, obviously power does help, but it's more about delusion. Sometimes for myself, right, my penalty kick routine isn't that deceiving, but a lot of different footballers like to use more deceiving penalty kicks to bamboozle the goalkeeper one way and then slot it in the other side, right? Because the higher level you go, especially at the professional academy level, the goalkeepers are insane. Pure power shots sometimes don't work. But at the lower levels, they do just because of the level of the goalkeeper. For example, a lot of players like to use stutter steps or slight fake shots to deceive one way and then go the opposite. This isn't exactly Neymar's, but Neymar does something like this. He slows down and he speeds up, he fakes, and then he goes and slots it in the corner. Penalty kicks are mostly the art of deception. So create a routine that consistently works for you, typically one that has a bit of deception involved with it, not as simple as mine, and practice it consistently. And when you go to games, apply the same routine, and that's how you build confidence into your routine. You never want to dribble with your outverted foot, because then that can happen. Why is that, Brady?
As a striker, dribbling the outfooted foot gives you less options to finish. And as a keeper, it makes me easier for me to force you down the line, forcing you to make a decision, making the save easier for me.
Here in a breakaway, what you don't want to do is dribble with your outside foot, engaging the goalkeeper, because what you're doing is you're going away from the net, right? He's able to close down my inside channel, and my only real option is that near post corner. And if it's a good keeper like him, he's going to be able to close that channel down fast. It limits my options, and with a good keeper is able to predict that, and most of the time it's going to be a save. Like right here, let's say only real option is there, right? I can't really go across, because let's say here I was to shoot it near post, or I dribble around. What he's going to do is he's going to close me down almost instantly. When you're on a breakaway, you always want to be dribbling with your inverted foot, because then both options open up. Even if the keeper is far, right, you still have that far corner and the near post where you could slot it in. You saw both corners available, and if he oversteps, you could go either way and dribble past him and finish as well. Let's say he oversteps, and I can go around, and I could finish it. If he oversteps another direction, I could hit it around the other side and finish it that way. You have both options available. Either you can slot it into each corner, or you can dribble past. Just recognize the trigger.
Players should come inside foot like that because it gives you both options to score. Makes it harder for me to say push you out wide or try to guess which way you're going. One thing I noticed at the academy level, every striker 90% of the time in 1v1s come with their inside foot to give them more options when they're trying to finish.
Now I engage the keeper with my inverted foot, have both options available. Either he has to predict, step off, and kind of just like react based off of my decision. This puts the keeper in a worse position, because right now the keeper's right there. Either I could go there, or I could dribble around, slot it in. And if he doesn't step, right now he stepped, let's say he step off, now I have all the channels available here. Even I could even chip it over him. You have unlimited options, making you more dangerous in 1v1. Even if it's overhit, Thierry Henry, Holland always curled it run around to be able to shoot with the inverted foot, because that opens up that far corner. Just take a look.
Haaland, only one result. Running at Carragher, and away from him, still Thierry Henry.
Make sure your hips are open so you can get around and curl it in the far corner, or you could deceive and go near, right? Both options are available. So make sure you open up your hips, allow yourself to get around and curl it into the far corner. With chip shots, there's two techniques I use, one inside the box and one out. But for now, we're gonna cover inside the box. Look, a common mistake people make is they scoop their foot under the ball to get it over, which it does work, but it takes a bit of time to get under and scoop it over. The last thing we want is to use a technique that takes longer than it's required. Especially in high pressure situations, you wanna get it out of your feet as quick as possible and get it over the keeper. So the best technique to get it up and over as quick as possible is to jab under to get it over and down. Just take a very close look at the ball. All it is, this is stationary. You're gonna come, you're gonna jab under to get it over. Obviously, when the ball is traveling, there's more momentum, so you're able to get it higher up. All it is, just take a look again. Look at my technique. You jab under, slightly rotate it forward, so the ball dips. Look, jab. Then I go in, but just to show you, you're getting that quick air time to go over the keeper. Remember, repetition is key. This is how you master it. Another technique people use is making contact with the side under the ball, jabbing. But usually these techniques are better for outside of the box because it takes a bit of time to get some air time. You'll be able to see the difference. This is with the side. As you can see, it takes a time for the ball to lift and to get some air time, especially in the box when trying to get it up and down as quick as possible. This is with laces. You can see how much quicker it went up and down, right? Especially in the box. This is the technique we want to use. So make sure you're making contact with the laces, down, jabbing, a bit lean forwards, the ball goes up and over the keeper. Heading the ball is a simple skill, but it's not easy. And when you get it wrong, it hurts. So here's how to do it properly. The basic rule of thumb for headering is when you make contact with the forehead and snap through, that's when you generate power. And always make sure you're using your neck to guide the ball into the direction that you want to header at, right? So it's basically two rules of thumb. Forehead to generate power and your neck to guide the ball. Other things come into play, like when you're jumping up, using your shoulders and your arms to protect yourself against other defenders so you don't get hurt. And timing as well is super important. Jump too early, you mistime it, it's probably gonna hit the top of your head and it's gonna fly, or when you jump too late and you miss the ball. So here's how to do it correctly. Making contact with your forehead and your neck to guide the ball. That ball is a little behind me, so I have to step back and adjust, right? But the same principle applies in almost any headering scenario. In these situations, you can see, neck to guide the ball, forehead to generate power. Just remember, don't shy away. That's when it actually hurts and that's when the ball goes everywhere. And also when the ball makes contact slightly above your forehead, that's fine as well. But anything beyond that, that's when you lose control of the ball. And that's again, when it hurts, right? So heading is a skill. It's simple, but it's not easy. Look, if I want to aim for the far corner, it all comes down to the neck. You saw how I rotated my head into the direction I want to aim at? It all comes down to here. And if I want to get power behind it, forehead, punch through. If I don't make contact with the forehead, I miss it and it goes everywhere. So make sure forehead, neck to guide the ball. The Rabona is using the foot that you don't use right beside, you're gonna plant it, right? And the foot that you wanna shoot the ball with comes across and makes contact with the ball. Remember, where you hit the ball in the Rabona measures where it goes, how high it goes, how much power you generate. And the last thing is, on the foot you shoot it with, you want it to be locked, driving through to generate power. Simple. Making contact under the ball is gonna get us this power effect. You see that? Making contact under the ball is gonna get us this dipping effect. Take a look. Under. Remember, if you looked at my foot when I made contact, it was locked. Locked means it's stationary and it goes through all in one motion. So it's not wobbling, where a lot of players make the mistake is they go through it and their foot kind of curves in or it curves out. You want it to be locked, all in one motion, going through. Making contact with your laces, super important. And to get that low driven effect on the Rabona, you're gonna wanna make contact slightly above. Just take a look above the heart of the ball, just like this. Look out, above. Low driven. It didn't go in, but you can see to get that low driving effect, you want to make contact slightly above and slightly on your standing foot on your tippy toes, right? Slightly on your tippy toes and then make contact right above. So you drive the ball down with speed. Watch carefully. See that? So it keeps the ball low and drives it down. Obviously, the harder you hit it and the better connection you have with the ball, the faster it's gonna go. Just like the goal Lo Celso scored for Spurs. Just like that. Look, a comeback finish simply comes down to technique. The more you complicate it, the harder you're gonna make it. All it simply is lean over, to the side, my foot aiming in the direction I want to shoot, making contact with the side, snapping through, and aiming for the corners. I highly recommend aiming in the same corner you're getting the pass from, because what's going to happen with the keeper is keepers always step out, get their feet set, and if you cut it back in the same corner, you're going against the momentum of the direction they're stepping towards, right? It's easier for them to dive in the same direction they're stepping towards than going back and diving in the same direction they came from. Look, pay very close attention. Side, snapping through. Keep it as simple as that. Side, snapping through, slightly leaned over to keep the ball low, to drive the momentum of the ball down. Pay very close attention on the technique. Side, leaned over in the corner the keeper stepped out from. This is what you don't want to do. Make contact with the laces, simply because you're generating so much power, and most of the time it's unnecessary, especially in cutback situations. You're better off just placing it in the corner, and there's a higher likely chance of you scoring with a side placed shot than making contact with the laces. Because of how much power you're generating, the likelihood of it going up, going to the side, or just blatantly just hitting the keeper are much higher. So you're better off just making contact with the side, larger surface area, easier to strike, and just snapping through, slightly lean over, guiding it into that direction. I don't recommend this, but you can snap across on a cutback, but it just simply requires more technique. It's a harder skill to execute, but it does work. Your planted foot is in that direction, in the corner, and then you're snapping across, deceiving the goalkeeper as if you're gonna go that way, and then snapping across. Just remember, the keeper's stepping in that direction, so if he reads it, it's easier to save. So I recommend just going into the same corner the ball's getting cut back from. So why you want to make contact with the side is because it's a larger surface area and it's easier to make connection with the ball. With the laces, the only real part of the foot you can make connection is this instep right here. Make contact with the laces, it's gonna fly, right? So all you do is simply snap through the ball. That's how you generate power with the side, which is a larger surface area, and you make it very easy for yourself, right? And if you look at a great example of this is Toni Kroos, when he scored that one goal where he got a cutback and he put it right into the far corner of the direction that he received the ball in. Just take a look. When you're inside the box, how many touches should you take? Because remember, as a striker or anyone who's in the box, the quicker you can get the shot off, the higher likely chance of you scoring. Unless you have time, of course. Because remember, with the higher level you get, the less time you have on the ball. So the quicker you can release it and shoot towards net, the quicker you're gonna catch the keeper off, so he doesn't have time to set, the higher likely chance of the ball actually going inside the net. So remember, if you can get it off quickly, with accuracy, do it in one touch. But if you have to take a touch to get set and there's less pressure around you, and if you have the space to, then take a touch and position yourself to finish. Because obviously when you take a touch, you're setting yourself up for the shot, which means you're able to get more accuracy behind it and more power. And if you look at the best strikers in the world, like Haaland especially, he limits his touch inside the box to try and score as quickly as possible. And that's why he has so many goals in every single season he's ever played. If you're ever outside the box with the ball, about to shoot, there's 4 techniques you need to master to start scoring beautiful long-range goals. Now, there's a ton of techniques you can use for free kicks, but today I'm going to go over the 2 most common ones. First being the curl around the wall. Yep. You see that? Curl around with power. The second is up and down on the same side. Just like that. Now the difference between the 2, if you didn't notice, was pretty clear. On the one where I curled it around, my standing foot was positioned diagonally across, aiming towards the back far right corner. What this does, you always want your foot to be positioned where you're gonna shoot. This is so that shot gets placed into that area. This is for accuracy. Now the second thing that was drastically different was I made contact in a circular motion to give it that backspin that curls it. And this is what gave it that curl to land in the top right corner. And the second one, where I dipped it up and over the mannequins, my landing foot was positioned directly across, directly in front, because I'm aiming into the opposite top left corner. This is so the ball goes there. The second thing I did with my shooting foot was, as I made contact, instead of curling it around, I went directly through, and this is what gave me that dipping effect. Super important. But some of the things that were similar, but for the most part, I leaned over so the ball goes down, rest the ball doesn't float. And second, everything else was the same. I made contact with the inside in the inner edge, right under the ball. This is so the ball lifts off the ground, and to generate power, I locked my ankle, and as I made contact, I went directly through the ball. Now, to understand when to do each completely depends on the situation. So like that shot right there, I would usually pull that off when the keeper is slightly trying to cheat and he's overconfident, thinking I'm gonna go top left. So when I see that, this is the trigger that it gives me to curl it top right to catch him off, because not a lot of players usually do go the same side as the keeper. But remember, this is where power and accuracy is super important, and this is harder to pull off. Now, the second technique, getting it up and over on the same side, is a higher likely chance of you scoring because you're shooting in the opposite side of the keeper. The higher level up you go, accuracy and power become more and more important, but just getting it up and slightly on net, you have a higher chance of scoring. Right, so remember that. This is the technique I'd use 9 out of 10 times whenever I'd go up and take a free kick. But there was that 1 out of 10 time where I do see the keeper trying to cheat, and that's where I curl it on the same side that he's currently on. So understand when to do each, and remember, each situation requires a different technique. Now, we've seen this technique in modern day football more than ever, and that is the low driven shot from outside the box into the bottom corners. It's super effective because it's low, especially for tall keepers. It's hard to get low and down on the ground fast. So with this technique, it's super easy to get that speed, accuracy at the same time, and power. So the best way to do it is to make contact with the laces, locking your ankle, and as you make contact, driving through to generate that power in a straight motion. We're going to be using our plan of foot for accuracy, pointing in the direction we're going to be aiming at. Right now, we're going to aim for the bottom right corner, then we're going to make contact with the laces to drive the ball low with power. You're going to look very carefully, plan of foot, just like that. As you saw, my plan of foot was in that direction, and that's where the ball went, using your plan of foot as a guide to guide the ball into the corner you're aiming for. And then as well, I make contact right at the heart of the ball. 2 below will raise the ball, that's an aerial power shot. 2 above, we're not gonna get that proper contact to generate power. So super important. Again, now I'm gonna be aiming for the right side on the right side. Take a very close look at my planning foot. So in that direction, boom. Obviously, it could have been more powerful, but you saw how my planning foot guided the ball into that direction. I made contact at the heart of the ball. That is a low-driven shot. Third, for whipped-in shots, primarily used for wingers, you want to make contact in a circular motion because this is what gives it that backspin that curls it, just like this. Touch out in a straight line, circular motion. You see that? Very, very important. As you shoot, make sure you're leaning into the shots with the ball dip. If we're leaning neutral or back, this is what lifts the ball, making it float. We don't want that. Take a very close look at the technique. And the setup is super important as well, because if the ball is a diagonal touch, it's hard to get around and make that contact in a circular motion and get that connection on the ball, right? So a setup is super important. Make sure the touch is straight, parallel to the line, going in front, contact in a circular motion, leaned into it, right? Super, super important. For example, if you don't set up the ball properly, this is what it's gonna look like. Dude, and then you have to come around, and then you're not gonna get that nice connection on the ball. You're not gonna make contact under to lift it, and you're not gonna be able to get that connection across, going around to get that curling effect. If you wanna start out very, very slow, just getting the right technique down, and then speed it up as you get better. You can add different 1v1 combinations, and then go, and then do it. Remember, repetition is key. That was okay, but I didn't make contact under and I didn't get that connection to get lift on the ball and get that curling effect properly. So you're gonna wanna go again and keep repeating until you master the skill. Drive, 1v1, touch out straight, get around, curl. One thing I did not mention is you wanna make contact with the inner edge right under the ball. This is to lift it. And as you make contact, leaned over, and you wanna do it in a circular motion so it curls while it dips, right? Super important. Game-like scenario. 1v1, drop the shoulder, boom. Remember, repetition is key. We've covered the techniques, but the truth is you'll never reach the next level without a good weak foot. So here's how to master your weak foot the right way. The techniques with your weak foot and your right foot are the exact same, but it just requires more repetition because it's your weak foot. You need to get more used to it. Whether it's a low driven shot, penalty shot, or the finesse shot. Yep. You have to realize that nothing changes. The same technique is required for your weak foot and for your strong foot. The only thing that changes is how comfortable you are with your other foot. So remember, it all comes down to consistency, meaning you have to do more repetitions with your weak foot to get as confident and as used to with your strong foot. So one thing I did growing up to get comfortable with my weak foot, I would practice a shooting technique that I would be comfortable with doing with my right and struggle with my weak foot against a fence. This is so I can get more repetitions and so I'm not chasing the ball back and forth hundreds of times. So say I wanted to practice on a low driven, so I get a fence like this, right? Make contact with my laces, centering the ball with my standing foot, pointing in the direction, right? So I go, I continuously do this again and again and again to get comfortable with my weak foot. I do this for hundreds of reps, then I will move on to doing it on an actual net in game-like scenario. So just keep practicing it, yep. You see, I made a mistake. That's super important because then you can recognize why the ball didn't go the way you wanted it to go and what was the mistake you were making. Right there, my foot wasn't locked as I was going through the motion, right? So now I understand that and I'm gonna do that correctly. Again, same mistake. Yep. Just like that. Again, once you get comfortable with it, then you're gonna wanna do it on an actual net in game-like scenarios. So you get more comfortable with the technique and so it transfers over to the real game when it matters most. And you build that foot to mind connection.
Too far for Ronaldo to think about it.
Ah! We are in Puskas award-winning territory, and with that comes the most important shooting techniques of the video. The power shot and a masterclass on volleying the football, starting with the power shot is the most sought after shooting technique. It's the most fun and I would say it requires the most skill to get it right consistently. So here's how to do it the right way. So remember, your planning foot is always in the direction that you want to shoot. If it's diagonal, that means you're aiming for the far corner. If it's straight, that means you're aiming it straight down. If it's like this or whatever, your standing foot guides the ball into the direction that it's pointed. So always remember that for accuracy. Second, and as you make contact, you're making contact with the laces, right? You're driving through, using your hips to punch through the ball with the locked ankle to generate momentum, and your hips generate power through the motion. So remember that your hips also guide the ball into that direction it's pointed at and it's facing. And the longer run up you get, the more momentum you can generate going into the shot and the harder the power shot's going to be. For example, let's say I just want to aim top right in this position. I'm gonna have a strong run up and then just look at my technique going through it. Locked angle, boom. That was good, but let me actually get it right. Doing good again, yep. See that? Just like that. Also pay really close attention to where I'm making contact with the ball. If I make contact centrally or anywhere above, that's when the ball stays somewhat on the ground and it gets driven low. Right? So you always want to make contact right under the heart of the ball to lift the ball and give it that air time. And also make sure you're leaning into the shot, right? Somewhat leaning towards, rotating your hips towards the ball to keep it low, to prevent it from flying. Again, same thing, boom. So remember to make contact with the laces, locked ankle, driving through, slightly lean forward to drive the ball low, and your planting foot should always be planted in the direction you're aiming towards to guide the ball in that direction. Your planted foot and your hips in that direction, right? Which happens naturally, but just something to consider when you're doing power shots. People like to complicate volleys a lot, but honestly, it's pretty simple once you have the right technique. Look, when the ball is traveling, coming towards you, there's two ways you can make contact with the ball. One is you come side on and make contact with the laces, kind of slicing through around the ball. That is aimed towards accuracy. You're able to get around the ball and kind of guide the ball into the direction that you want to aim at. Then, the second way you make contact with the ball is the laces lean over. You lose the ability to guide the ball, but this is the power shot of the volley. So you're able to generate more power making contact with the laces, leaned over in a direct motion, then coming around it. This is for guidance. So let me show you the difference between the two. This is making contact with the side. As you can see, it's geared toward guidance. As you can see, I was able to accurately aim it in the corner, but I wasn't able to generate that much power because I'm coming around the ball rather than being direct, making contact with the laces with the instep. So play it, Jawad. Let me show you the difference. This is making contact with the laces direct. You can see you're able to generate more power and it's a much of a direct approach, right? Because then when you're coming around, the ball has to travel around into the corner rather than going head on and going into the corner. Let me show you again. This is more of a direct approach. So that's to show you the difference, right? One travels direct and one goes across. One is geared towards power, one is more aimed towards accuracy. Depending on which position, right? I know Lucas Podolski and Robin Van Persie loved the laces direct volley, and Aaron Ramsey, I remember his goal from all the way back here, he went towards the side approach, which went perfectly into the top left-hand corner, right? So it also depends on the position that you're at. Use which volley you can, depending on how the ball gets to you. Direct, laces, volley. It's a more of a direct approach. Look, the direct approach generates much more power once you get it right. So you can see, once you make perfect contact with the instep, the power that you're gonna generate with it, ridiculous. Look, the same thing applies to how volleys, the same techniques apply. If you can make contact with the side, then make contact with the side. If you wanna make contact with the laces, same thing applies, but you make contact right after it bounces. Look, as soon as it bounces, you make contact with it. The same exact technique, nothing changes. It's just the timing of when you make contact with the ball changes because you're waiting for that bounce, then you make contact. Now that you know how to master every single shooting technique, here's how to turn that into a training plan and completely transform your shooting ability. First, what is your position? Where do you find yourself in game? And where do players usually score goals from that position? For example, if I was a central midfielder, I would find myself in these sorts of situations. Around the edge of the box, maybe getting inside, but mostly shooting from range. So to score goals from here, you would need to master whip shots, power shots, low driven, volleys, cutbacks, Ramonas, and free kicks if you're a set piece taker. And it's these techniques you want to be training. So to create sessions that we can start today, here's what you're gonna do. Pick 2 and focus on those techniques for each session at a time. For example, so the first of the 2 shots we're gonna master are power shots. So to start each session, if you're struggling with the technique, again, find a wall and start with the very basics. Get the right technique down of that shot before you go on and do it on a big net, right? So I'm gonna do power shots. I'm gonna be practicing that technique on a fence. I'm gonna repeat that probably 50 times each foot, then progress into actually doing the shots. Make sure you repeat with both feet. Now, after you feel comfortable with that technique, you're gonna progress it into actual game-like scenario. Right here, pretend I get the ball from the top of the box, cut in, boom. Again, repeating that same action to get comfortable and to build that consistency. Trying to aim in the corners, but that will come with consistency. So here for a session like this, I would probably do, depending on how many balls I have, I'll probably do 50 shots right foot, 50 shots left foot. Right foot on this side, left foot on that side. Through repetition, you're gonna build that muscle memory and it's gonna become a skill. You're gonna build that habit. It's okay to make mistakes, right? Because we're gonna learn from that. That's gonna happen a lot when you first start. Now we're gonna go on the left side. The technique is gonna take a little bit of time to get, but remember, be patient, and it's gonna come with consistency, right? Even myself, right, something I even need to work on. Left foot. Even right there, I could lean more into it, right? You could see where like it kind of lifts towards the end. So through repetition, you're gonna understand. Even myself, low driven, still had power behind it, but it could be higher. Now the second of the 2 is gonna be finesse shots. As a central midfielder, you're gonna find yourself in these outside channels where you're gonna be a bit more inside, right? Not gonna be too far out, where you're gonna have to finesse it around the keeper to score. So that is a technique that you're gonna wanna be working on, right? That is a technique that I chose. So if you don't have the right technique, right, you're still struggling on how to finesse it, how you should shoot it around, practice it against the wall or a fence, and just go through the motion slowly and just get the right technique down before you advance to actually doing it. And once you have the right technique down, you're gonna practice it like in a game, like we just did with the power shot, 50 times each foot, or until however many you want to do, right? That completely depends on you. I don't want to do it too long, right? So you only want to go, again, right technique, just finesse it around, just like that. So you're going to want to do that 50 times right foot, 50 times left foot, working on both feet. Again, touch out, boom. Consistency is key. Perfect. You see, it's not always going to be right, and this is why you got to consistently practice it to build that muscle to be able to consistently do it, right? Just going through the motion, boom. Simple as that. I've been doing this for a while, but if you're struggling with it, again, work on it. Work on it in training. That's how it transfers over to a real 11v11 game. Again, boom, top right corner. No keeper is saving that. You're gonna wanna practice it with your weak foot, going through the technique. Listen, it's the exact same technique as with the strong foot. It's just gonna take a bit of time to understand and to get comfortable being able to do it and being able to execute the technique the right way. So be patient, work on it on your left foot as well. Work on it on your weak foot, right? It's super important because being able to be both footed, you're gonna be more dangerous and you're gonna score more goals. Make sure you practice it with both feet and you go through the motions so you build that consistency and you make it a skill.
And now that you have your session, if you want a training plan to help you actually improve your shooting, here's what you're gonna do. Copy the session you just did with 2 completely new techniques to train anything you want. Now you can turn this into a repeating training plan. Here's how it works. Monday, training A. Tuesday, training B. 2 more techniques different to the last training. And on Wednesday, training C. These are the 3 sessions that you will do every week, and you're gonna do them twice. Training A on Thursday, B on Friday, and C on Saturday. If you can repeat this training consistently for a month, your shooting is going to improve 100x. And you'll be banging in goals left, right, and center.
So that is literally the full guide to master shooting and the only guide you'll ever need. But remember, shooting isn't going to answer all your problems. You may score, but there's more to football to become a standout. That's why I just dropped a full masterclass. Yes, a masterclass. Breaking down every tiny thing that I did to sign for a professional academy. So click right here for the video and I'll see you inside. Let's get you to a pro academy, broski.